Hello YouTube, thought I'd do a quick video today. If you've been wanting to hook up an external speaker, whether it's to your mobile radio or whether it's to your handheld, this video is going to be for you. We can recycle computer speakers. Now I don't know if a lot of people use the computer speakers anymore. Most people have laptops, or maybe even they don't even have a computer no more. But back in the day, when you had a desktop computer, it normally comes with computer speakers. Like you see here, they have a built-in amplifier. It's got a volume control on it. We can recycle these and reuse them as external speakers for a handheld or a mobile radio. Now, before we get into how to do this, the first thing you want to do, and usually it might be marked on the speaker and it might not be. If you don't see what the ohms are, you're going to have to take one of the speakers apart. You can use an ohm meter to check it at the end of the cable, but if you don't have that, usually it's stamped on the back of the speaker. In this case, this is a 6 ohm speaker. Now I know a lot of owners' manuals say that the external speaker should be an 8 ohm speaker, but you can hook up a 6 ohm speaker to your radio. It's just going to be a little bit louder. It's not going to hurt nothing. I wouldn't go much lower than 6 ohms. So if your speakers are like 3 ohms, then I would probably not do it so much. But 6 ohms, I've done it before in the past. I never had any problems with it. Like I say, it's just going to make it a little bit louder. But so the lowest I would go is 6 ohms. So we got to check that, like I said, on the speaker stamp. Or if you have an ohm meter, you can always measure it on the ohm with the ohm meter. Now, remember, computer speakers have a right and left because they're stereo. Our radios only have one speaker. Our radios are mono. We don't need stereo. Although you could hook it up so that you could have 2 speakers if you choose to. But to kind of keep things simple, I'm going to kind of break it down just using one speaker. So the thing what you want to do is, I call this one, the speaker that has the volume control is the master. The speaker that does not have a volume control is the slave. Usually the slave speaker plugs into the master speaker and back. We want to unplug that. And I'll talk about this in a minute. We just want the slave that does not have the amplifier, and how you can tell there's no volume control on here. So that's how I know this is the slave and it does not have a built-in amplifier. Now usually the cables on the back of these speakers of the master is an RCA cable, which would look something like this, but we cannot use that. We need to use a 3.5 millimeter plug. I'll put a link in the description here on how to get that. Now, this slave will have 2 wires, a black wire and a red wire. Okay? Now, since we are dealing with mono, because our stereo, let's see if I can do this better, because our radio, I shouldn't say stereo, our radio is a mono radio, we don't need to worry about the stereo. So how you would hook this up, the black wire goes to the, let me get my pointer here. The black wire goes to the ground of the plug, which is going to be this longer bottom sleeve. And then, since this is a stereo plug, it's going to have 2 tabs, one for right, one for left. We're going to solder the red wire to both of these tabs up here. You can see that, because we want to combine the right and left, because again, our GMRS radios are mono. So we solder these up, and that's how you would hook up the wiring to the 3.5 millimeter jack, okay, for the slave speaker. See how I did that? Of course I didn't solder them, but you run the red to the 2 tabs up here, and then the bottom, which is going to be the ground, which is going to be the longer one, would be your black wire. Okay? So now, once you get that done, it's going to look like this. This screws back together. So now I can plug this in to the back of my mobile radio, and I can go ahead and have it be an external speaker. Now, if I want to get it real fancy, I could get an adapter that goes from 3.5 to 2.5. Put this in at the end of the plug. Now I can plug this into the speaker out on a handheld. Okay, so that's how you can easily make an external speaker using the slave speaker. Let me put this back together here. Be patient with me. Now, if you want to get fancy, this has a built-in amplifier because it's got a volume control and it has a wall wart to plug it in. We could do the same thing with this. However, what I end up doing on this one, at least with this set of speakers, I only end up using one of the tabs. You're going to have to kind of experiment because every speaker might be a little different. Remember how I said on the slave, on the red wire, we hook them both up to the two tabs here on top? I end up using one of them and not both of them. But you can easily figure this out by just plugging this in, have your wires exposed, and then touch it on the jack, and you'll figure out which ones is sound real quick. And then that's the one you want to solder to. But you do the same thing. Let me get the camera. Do the same thing here. Now I have a speaker that's got built-in amplifier. I can plug this into the back of a radio. If I got an adapter, I can plug in an adapter. It goes from 3.5 to 2.5. Plug this into the handheld. And then, of course, as we all know, the volume on the handheld will have to be adjusted so you don't overdrive the amplifier. Okay? Now, here's the beauty part of this. If your speaker has a wall wart like this, look to see what the voltage rating is on that. And lo and behold, guess what the voltage rating is on this? 12 volts DC. So I could, on this particular set of speakers, cut this off and hook it up to my car and have an amplifier speaker in my car. Because if your adapter says 12 volt DC, that's the same as a car battery. So we could do that and have an amplifier speaker to get more volume if we choose to. So a lot of things, ways to do this. Or if I didn't want to split the speakers up, I could have just left this with the plug that came with it, leave it plugged into the master, only change this plug on the master, then I'd have two speakers I could use with the built-in amplifier because it's got the volume on there and this has got the amplifier. So you could do it many different ways. Just remember, if you decide to do it with the amplifier, make sure that you turn the volume down on the main volume, because this is, remember, this feeds this. So if this is way too loud, it's going to be like distorting and driving it too hard. So you want to start this low and then turn this up and try to figure out the balance where you want it. Now with this speaker, we don't have to do that with, because this speaker does not have a built-in amplifier. So you just plug it in and only the one volume control would be the one that you would use. So it works pretty good. I've had this in my car. I know people are thinking, well, how am I going to mount this in my car? Because usually the speakers you buy, by the way, usually the external speakers that they want to sell you that don't have an amplifier, they're like $60. I think the one on Midland's site was like $60. Well, you can easily fix that. Just get a drill bit. The speaker's up here, so we're not going to hurt nothing. Get a drill bit and drill a couple holes here in the stand. And now you can mount this to a piece of wood so it don't tip over. Or mount it, if you want to mount it in your vehicle, you can do that. So, I mean, that's a pretty cheap way to get, and they're not bad speakers. I mean, they work pretty decent. I don't have it hooked up right now, but I'm going to use this in my car, and I'm going to use this one here probably on the bench because it's got the built-in amplifier, so I can use it for troubleshooting. I could even make a set of probes. I could probably take another jack. Actually, I could do this if I really wanted to. Let me show you. See? Now I have another jack here. I plug it in, and this has got alligator clips. So now I have a way of troubleshooting with this powered amplifier audio problems. So I can just unplug this. Just a jack that it plugs into. So now I got a nice troubleshooting bench set up there. So that's how you can do it. Now, like I said, it doesn't matter what type of speakers, as long as they're 6 ohm or more. I have another set here, and I should grab them and just to kind of show you. This set here, I could use it for the workbench, but I really couldn't use it for the car because the AC cord's built in. Let me show you what I mean here. So let me take this one off. Bear with me here. So here's a set, another set that I got. I got these for free. Someone will throw them away. Again, this is the master. Now this set does not plug in, so you'd have to cut the wire if you wanted to run it without just one speaker. Now it looks like, and this is where you got to be kind of mindful here. This particular set has a regular power cord on it. So I really couldn't use it in the car unless I ran an inverter. So this is the master. And this is a good, I guess I'm glad I took this out. This master, it's actually, this is kind of weird how they did this set, because usually the power is on the master, but it's not. They have the power on the slave. So this speaker might be a little bit more difficult to deal with. Not impossible, but it's going to be a little more dealing with it because they put the power cord on the slave. So let me kind of roll this up here so we don't have cords all over. They put the power cord on the slave. So I guess what I would do in this case is I just want the speaker. So I would pull this apart and just disconnect the power cord and then just make sure the speaker wire here, I just resolder it direct to the speaker inside there is what I would do. Because this, like I said, in this particular example, they have the master, this power is fed over to this. It's not just one wire like my other set is. So you have to do a little bit of modifying if you got a set like this. It looks like it's really easy to figure out, like in this one here, obviously this wire here is the sound wire because it has the jack on it. And you might be able to use the jack that's already on there. You might get lucky. You might not even have to remove this. You'd have to try it. On mine, I had to and rewired it. But you might get lucky and not have to do that. So if I could plug this in direct without modifying it, you would have a amplified, because you plug this in, external speaker. You might get lucky, like I said, try it. And if it don't work, you'll know why. You'll have to cut this plug off and rewire it. Now, like I said, this wouldn't work in a car unless you ran an inverter. But, different types of speakers, you just got to kind of play around with it. So hopefully this will kind of give you some ideas. Like I said, you can get these speakers really cheap. And if you want, look for, Goodwill and stuff like that. If you want to make it even simpler, find the speakers where you can disconnect by unplugging it, like what I have here. With the wall warts, you can unplug the slave speaker, because the cable that was on here was that RCA jack that plugged in the back of here. That's how the slave was hooked up. So go to like the Goodwill, thrift shop stores. You might find a pair like this. If you want it to be simple, you can unplug it and just do it the way I did it. That's what I would suggest you do. The other set that I showed you would work. It'd just be a little more modifying. But at any rate, if you have any questions or comments, please post them down below. Please subscribe. Thank you and have a good day.